When I hear someone getting down on themselves in the blogging world or just in general, to me, it's an indicator that they really don't believe that there's enough abundance in this world for you to have some too.
That was Cara Ansis, and we're talking about changing your thoughts to change your life on episode 43 of the Chopped Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. Thanks for joining me today for the 43rd episode of the Chopped Podcast. You know, this is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. So what are we doing here? Well, each week my goal is to share thoughts, stories, interviews, everything related to food blogging so we can all learn together about what works with food blogging and maybe even a little bit about what doesn't. Is it just me, or is this month going by way too fast? It just turned December and it's already December 9th. So how crazy is that? And I know this is an extremely busy time of year for food bloggers in particular, for everybody really, if you think about it. And so we're going to wrap up this year with 3 kind of unusual podcast episodes for you all. It starts with today. What's so special about today's podcast? Well, first of all, I asked Cara Ansis to come join me. You remember Cara, right? She's from episode 22. Cara and I were talking about finding your voice, your authentic voice on Instagram. It was a great discussion. I enjoyed that conversation with Cara so much, and we actually talked in the meantime. And in fact, she came to Chopped Conference, and I got to meet her in person and her new husband, and that was really exciting. I think she also came to see the Royals in the World Series, but you know, why not, right? But it was really good to get a chance to talk with her in person. And so I invited her to come back and to talk today. What's really different is this is not an interview. Today, the podcast is a discussion between Cara and I, and we are talking about a topic I think you'll find really interesting. It's authenticity. We just lay it out there. And we've both agreed it's not easy being authentic. We all want to take this magic pill, and I put myself in that category as well. You know, this blogger is getting a lot of traffic and she does long pins on Pinterest. So we all do that. Or another blogger is getting engagement by doing Snapchat. So we all do that. Or some blogging expert comes along and says they have the answer to everything to just buy their plan. And the thing is, all that time and money we spend on those secrets could be better spent figuring out who we are, what we bring to the table, and really understanding that and how it impacts our audience. So the truth is, as I said earlier, it's not easy being authentic, especially for a blogger. And that's not just Cara saying that, and it's not just me saying that. I hear this from a large number of bloggers. So if you feel that way too, just know that you have company. But just because it's hard doesn't mean it's impossible. Cara and I discussed the topic of authenticity, and I think we've shed some light on some things that really make a difference. I know just having this discussion with her has made a difference for me. So I can't wait to share this with you so that, you can see how this impacts the work that you do as a blogger as well. I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on being authentic, especially as it applies to being a blogger? So leave a comment on the site or send me an email at marley@choppedcon.com. I would love to hear from you. But let's get right to it, don't you think? Today's intro shout out is to Nori Cornelius, who said this on Instagram. Listening to Tegan Gerard's food photography interview on the Chopped Podcast at 11:11 a.m., making a wish and being inspired while I get cooking. Nori, I love this. First of all, I love your name. And also, I had no idea about this 11:11 thing. I had to look it up online, and I see that making a wish at 11:11 is kind of a thing. So I actually have a lucky time of day, but it's just based on my own thing. every time I look at the clock and it's 3:07, that's a lucky time of day for me. And it's so strange how often that it'll just happen. I'll just look up at the clock and it'll be 3:07, and I don't know, it just always makes me smile. So now I can add 11:11 to my lucky times of day. Next thing you know, we'll just all be lucky all day long. So thanks, Nori, for your shout out and for the tip off on the 11:11 thing. That's kind of cool. So in honor of Nori, everyone, head into the kitchen, put on those earbuds, and let's talk about all things food blogging and so much more. Hey everyone, I'm happy to have Cara Ansis of the site Fork and Beans back on the show today. Cara, welcome to the Topped Podcast.
Yay, thanks, Marley. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here. And you were just on the show just a few months ago talking about authenticity via Instagram. And I think you had a different name, Cara Reed.
That was my former self, yes.
Your former self. And now you're married and you've got a new name. And I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I am so happy for me too.
And we had such a great time talking about that. It was finding your authenticity in Instagram, and it was such a great topic, and we had a really good time talking about it. And then, of course, I got to meet you in person at Chopped.
Yes, that was so awesome.
It was really awesome. It was great. And so I thought it would be good to come back. And this is going to be a little different for everybody because this is not an interview. This is Cara and I having a discussion on the topic of authenticity. And I don't know, I'm really excited about this.
Girl talk.
Bring it on. Girl talk mixed in with some philosophy, because I've actually given you a tag. You are now the food philosopher.
Food philosopher. I love it. I love it. Well, what everyone doesn't know is that right before this podcast, we were just chatting a lot about margaritas. So yeah, there's some philosophy for you.
Yes. Alcohol in general can really bring out the philosopher in any of us, right?
That is right.
So I thought today's topic would be really good because, first of all, I think it's something you and I have been chit-chatting about behind the scenes a lot. And I definitely have been obsessed with the topic of authenticity over the last year or two. And I think some of it kind of follows my own journey with blogging. Like, I don't know how to explain this, but maybe I have found blogging, or even my own life, as like, oh, what are they doing? And I should be doing that. Or what are they doing over there? And maybe I should be doing that. And I think lately I've been really trying to figure out, like, what is my own true path with blogging?
I think that's a very common thing, and always looking to other people, trying to figure out what it is that they're doing is like a safety net for us, because it prevents us from standing out in the crowd. And it also prevents us from really being honest that we really don't know what we're doing and we're just trying to fake it. And if we were honest, then everybody would be saying, I don't know what I'm doing either, And so I think conversations like this are very important in the blogging world too, because the reality is I have no clue what I'm doing. I just know that there are certain things that feel right for me and that work for me, and I enjoy doing those certain things. But when it comes to I don't know, just help me out here, putting it out there in the world and having strategies, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
See, it's so surprising to hear you say that, because when I look at your site and I subscribe to your email newsletter list. And so when I get your emails, and you just look like you are on a path, girlfriend.
Well, I think the last time I chatted with you on the podcast, I told you my 3 secret questions.
Yes.
It's, know your strengths and know what you're good at. Know your why. Why are you doing what you do? And know your audience. And those 3 things have helped me greatly. And that's like the only advice I can really genuinely give, because I can tell you what I've been doing on my Instagram to get the success that I have. Doesn't mean that's going to work for you though, because, so-and-so does healthy recipes and not necessarily kid art. And that's just my thing. You know what I mean? Yes. So it's like, everybody, it just looks different. And so if you know those 3 things as to why you exist and your audience and what you're good at, then you can live a little more authentically, and it will feel a little more right in your gut. But at the end of the day, Marley, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm constantly going, let's see if this works. Nope, didn't work. But I think that's what makes somebody successful is being open to failing.
Okay, and I'm just going to say then, I know then that's why authenticity is so scary, because it feels easier for me to think like, oh, I'm just going to do what Cara's doing because she's doing so great at Instagram. I'm just going to do that. Or I can also see where I could say, well, Amy Porterfield's got this new program on how to rock at Facebook, so I'm just going to buy her program. You know, those two things kind of make authenticity, you know, kind of puts a mask over it, if you ask me. It's so easy just to like, give me a pill and I want to take that and I'm authentic. But this is hard. Know yourself, know your skills. How do I know what I'm good at? You know what it means? It means I have to fail a little bit.
It means I have to fail a little bit, and it means that I'm going to have to really work at getting to know who I really am.
Yes.
We talked about this too a little earlier about when you own a business, when you are a blogger and you're sitting alone by yourself in your house with no adult contact, you become very familiar with the ugly, ugly words that you catapult at yourself on a daily basis, except it's magnified now because there's no real distraction anymore. And so you become acquainted very well with the main things you really deeply believe about yourself. And so the work then becomes about changing those thoughts, changing them into, you know what, I am successful. You know what, people do really like me. People do want to work with me, you know?
Yes, exactly. It's so true, because I can sit here and tell you that those voices go on in my head, and they're saying things, you know, like, "Oh, you're such an idiot. Who do you think you are? Why would you want to?"
Nobody likes you.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one wants to work with you, or they like her blog better, or whatever. All those things go on, and they are just like creativity killers. They
really, really are, and it's funny because last time. You know, I was on the podcast, and the fact that you called me the food philosopher, which is just hilarious. I feel like I have to always touch on the heart of the matter, and it's really your spirit, it's your soul. That's the real issue here. It's not that you're not posting enough on Facebook, or you have to pin more pins and then you'll get more traffic. That's not the issue as to why you're not being successful. And let me also say that success is defined so differently person to person. It's very subjective.
Yeah.
So I'm not claiming that success means a lot of traffic, a lot of followers,
a lot of money.
Yes, exactly. But I totally just had a brain fart. Oh my gosh.
You were talking about the soul and their spiritual.
Thank you. I got so heated on that one. It's not about the certain strategies. It's about, what do you think about yourself? How do you view yourself? What is your value? Like, how do you see that? To me, that is the biggest issue. And also, how do you view the universe, or whatever it is that you might want to call it? Because when I hear someone getting down on themselves in the blogging world, or just in general, to me, it's an indicator that they really don't believe that there's enough abundance in this world for you to have some too.
Oh man, that is huge. Yes.
We are all so concerned, like, so-and-so has all these followers and I don't, and I'm really upset about it. How come I can't have that? Well, so-and-so doesn't need to be the only one. You can have it too. You can have it too. We all can, you know, it's like Oprah. You get success, we all get success.
Just success for everybody.
Exactly. But you have to change that mindset. You have to, it almost is, you know, you have to start to believe that you're worth it as well, just as much as so-and-so. that to me is the real issue. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree, because without that, then, really you don't have a foundation to work from.
Exactly.
I mean, when you say know your strengths as your very first item, if you're hating on yourself, there's no way to take that lens off and be able to see yourself as the strengths that you have to bring to the table.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, it's easy for me to say those words, and then when it's my turn to sit at the table and be reflective and think of my strengths, it can be, it's very vulnerable to think about all that stuff. In other words, it's vulnerable to be able to say, yeah, I feel like I'm good at these kinds of things. I don't know why it sparks vulnerability for me. Maybe because I've been such a people pleaser.
Well, no, I think it's just you're human, and I think that's a very normal response, and it's why a lot of people don't want to truly be authentic, because it's very vulnerable. One of the things about blogging that scared me in the beginning was how people would perceive me. And, there are certain sites online these days that bash food bloggers or just bloggers in general. And so it's just like this big fear of, I don't want to be on there. People are going to say mean things about me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feel like I'm back in 8th grade again. Great. But the reality is that you get to a certain point where I'm just saying my opinion and I'm being me. And if you have a problem with that, then, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Your words, your mean words to me, with somebody I don't even know, it's kind of meaningless, I don't know. Have you ever gotten a negative comment or a mean email?
I have. Yes, I have, for sure. I'm vegan, so can you imagine?
Yeah. And is there a difference from when you first started and you got your first email versus where you are now?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I think at the beginning I had such a lack of confidence in myself that negative comments were very deflating and, very personal.
Crushing.
Yes.
So crushing, right?
Very crushing, yeah.
How do you deal with it now?
I delete the comment. I mean, if they have something valid to say, I do try to take it in. In other words, is there a point to be made here? I actually have a comparison actually to tennis. If you're not so sick of hearing my tennis stories,
no, I love it.
But I play doubles tennis, and there have been times when I play with other women that are overly critical. And so I reached out to this guy who's like this tennis guy. He does all these videos on tennis. I reached out to him and said, I guess I thought I would reach out to him and say, I'm always encouraging them, saying great shot, and then when I mess up, they say things like, you should totally change the way you had the racket held wrong, or you're doing this wrong, and they start criticizing the way I play. I felt like he was going to come back and say, well, yeah, you should tell them that they're wrong. But he didn't. Yeah. He actually said, the very first thing you need to do is change your mindset to think that they're not actually trying to hurt you. They're your partner in tennis. They want to win. So why can't you at least try to throw something, find out if there's anything that's truthful about what they're saying, and parse that out of the negativity of it.
Love that. Yes.
I love that too. It really helped me accept it a lot better. And so I try to do that with comments too. Is there some truth that I could find in this? If they are just being completely mean and terrible, yeah, I'll delete it.
Do you get upset about it anymore, or is it easier to walk away from?
It's way easier to walk away from. How about you? Do you feel that way?
Yes. I remember the first time I got my first negative comment, and I was just like, what? I'm here to help you. Why are you saying these mean things?
Yes. Did you want to quit?
Yeah, it really stung. And because this was 4 years ago. And so I was really on the people pleasing path.
Yeah.
And so it just devastated me, and it stuck for a long time. I'm telling this person off in my head,
yes,
day, and finding new things to jab at them. Now, I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt anymore, because I think that's kind of part of being vulnerable, is when someone says something mean, it kind of takes you by surprise.
Right.
But it doesn't last with me the entire day anymore. It might it might be a couple hours, and then I can laugh about it, but it's definitely taken a long time. And the thing is that I found that I need to get them a lot. Like I'm not asking you people to start commenting or emailing me, but the way I got over it to a certain degree is by having it happen repetitively.
I see.
And that was like the one thing I was most fearful about. But I found that the more I kept facing it, the less I'm like, this doesn't hurt that much, and that's okay. That's your opinion, and you can have that opinion. But I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
I think the thing that we're touching on, though, is, or at least that you pointed out there, is that the importance of being mindful. And that has really been something I've been working on lately, is to, I think, I'm surprised at sometimes when I let myself take a moment and be mindful about how I'm feeling about things. Like, there really are some deep emotions in there. And the more I can give voice to them, or at least, be aware of them, then it does kind of help me just handle things better. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because you're honoring your emotions and honoring those deep beliefs that you really have about that certain situation. I don't think that you can make change until you are actually honest with yourself, don't you think?
I do, and I actually think you can't be authentic without having at least some time in your day that's mindful, because I think about how much when I'm driving in the car, I'm listening to podcasts, or I'm listening to music, or when I'm going for a jog or a walk, I'm doing the same thing. And then, around the house, I'm cooking. I constantly have things coming at me. Yeah. I don't have time to think when that happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And being a blogger, a food blogger, you're juggling a lot.
Yeah.
As it is. And you're probably juggling things that don't come naturally to you too. Like, photography, we talked about this last time, photography doesn't come naturally to me. And so it's just a struggle. It's hard, and it's something I have to work at all the time. And even food styling, it's really difficult.
You do such a great job at it, Cara.
Well, thank you. But I think the creation of the foods that I love, it's putting things around the table and making it look authentic, this is kind of funny because we're talking about being authentic, and part of being a food blogger is not really being truly authentic.
Putting food in a way that we probably wouldn't normally eat it.
Or putting it on a slab of wood that's supposed to look like a table. It's not really a table. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the example I want to give there is Dolly Parton. Ooh. Because I think we could look at Dolly and say, she's had boob jobs, she's had plastic surgery, she's not authentic, but she is really authentic because she knows herself. She knows that these are things that she likes, so she did them.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. I take it back.
No. I think you raise a good point.
But with all that to say, we all have things that we're constantly juggling in the air, and so it's easy to forget why you're doing what you're doing, and it's easy to forget that you are actually a human being first and foremost before a food blogger. And there's more to life than Pinterest or Instagram. Yes. And you have to do some soul care, whatever that might mean for you. And being mindful, like you said, that is it's the core of it, in my opinion.
And so for me, being mindful has turned into, I try to meditate. I will confess, I'm not good at doing it every single day, but I do. I have this little, it's called Headspace. It takes 10 minutes.
That's what my husband does.
Really? Oh, cool.
He loves it, yeah.
Yes. And I know that you can buy into the program and get longer meditations. I right now just have the free version, and they have 10-minute meditations that I do. And I feel good on the days that I do that. But also, I heard somebody else talk about what they call the power pee, where whenever you take you have to go to the bathroom so many times a day. So take that as an opportunity to connect with yourself and just like think, what's going on in this moment and how am I feeling about it?
Oh my gosh, I love that. I have the world's smallest bladder, so
you're power peeing a lot.
So many meditations. Okay, this is great. I'm doing that. Thank you.
Yes. And then I just try to every now and then, like, I have a lot of things going on in my head sometimes. And I just think, let's say while I'm cooking, why not just like pay attention to how these ingredients look together, or just like the feel of my hands on them. I don't know, it sounds kind of woo-woo, I know, but I really like every now and then just taking these moments just to be completely present.
I think that's not woo-woo. I think that is awesome, and it all contributes to just creating an environment where you can genuinely be yourself. And even in that, like what you're talking about, Marley, of being present in the ingredients, just being present in your emotions too. Mm-hmm. I don't think we give ourselves time to do that often at all.
I think you're right.
If you're like me, when my husband and I are sitting on the couch, I'm still like on Pinterest at like 8-9 o'clock at night. I have to put limits on it, and it's just an easy distraction, an easy filler to do certain tasks that I didn't get done during the day. Yeah. And the sad thing is, it just takes away from just you being a human being and doing whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing in that moment.
Do you know what I did the other night, Cara?
What?
So Sean was gone playing tennis, and I had the night to myself, which doesn't happen very often. And typically I have been, like getting on Pinterest, or, all these other, finishing up a podcast episode, or all these other things I have to do. I gave myself the night to do what I wanted to do. And Sean and I actually met over the guitar. So I actually sat down and played guitar by myself for a little while.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I know. And then I have this, it's an very old window frame that I have hanging up in my office. And it has 3 panes in it. So I've been painting the panes with the chalkboard paint so I could like put inspirational messages on it. So I did a little bit of that too. It was just a fun, creative night, and I just loved it.
And how fulfilling is that? My goodness. Like when you realize, wait a minute, I have a life outside of food blogging. I have things I actually enjoy doing.
Yes.
And it makes me feel good about who I am.
It's so true. And I feel more connected with myself. The interesting thing is I feel like being more mindful, giving myself time to do these things that I enjoy more. I actually have a whole bunch of ideas coming at me of things that I want to do with the blog. Which
is so strange, because you would think the opposite. The more I keep thinking about it, then the more productive I'll be. But it's so important to have that time in whatever part of the day you need it most to just... Okay, so can I tag on to your, guitar and whatever?
Yes, I want to hear it.
So what I've been doing lately is we just bought a PlayStation 4. And part of the reason, this is my husband and I's... this is our reasoning for it. Well, because you can watch DVDs on it. We don't have a DVD player. So, I mean, right? That makes sense. But let's get Call of Duty. He likes that. And we're not huge video game people, but it just seemed like the right time. But let me tell you, they have Just Dance on there. And you better believe I moved the table out and I danced for like 30 to 40 minutes.
It's a great workout, isn't it?
Lady Gaga, yes. And it's the best thing ever. And I just genuinely love to dance. It's just always been something I love doing. And so getting reconnected with that, it's given me something new to think about and new, just to enjoy. And I don't have to worry about anything because I'm so focused on the dance moves that are going on the TV screen. So it's definitely reminded me it's very important to have that,
to play.
It's so important to play. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Yes.
And how little, I mean, I think play is a great way of self-discovery, and how little time we include play in our lives.
Yep. Yeah, and just not even food blogging, just in general. Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, play is, like when I sat down and played the guitar, you're, dancing. Those are great examples of play, even if it's just 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I think that really makes a big difference in your life.
It does, because those 15, 20 minutes, if not spent doing playful things, will be spent looking at your Instagram or your Facebook, trying to figure out how many people liked it, how many people did it reach, and you're just, okay, that's what I do, and I just become obsessive about
me too
the wrong things. So
yes, because here's my question. Okay, I go into Instagram, and yes, I just posted something. I'm just dying to see how many people have liked it or whatever. I mean, should that be the goal in posting something on Instagram? Should it be that, or should it be just wanting to really connect with people?
You know what? That's going to differ based off of what your own goals are.
Ah, that's true.
But okay, so let's chat about this here.
Okay.
So when I first started Fork and Beans, I had this deep sense of wanting to have a community with people. Yeah. And because there really weren't that many gluten-free vegan blogs out there at that time that produced really quality stuff. It was very, very rare. And nobody was talking necessarily about the teaching of how do you do it and the science behind it and whatnot. So it's why I started Fork and Beans, is because I wanted people to not feel like they were hopeless and helpless, and that it would be an educational resource for them where they can get their questions answered. And I would be there to form relationships with these people and to help others, right?
Great mission. Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, though, that became clouded. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be really honest, and it's not fun for me, but like there was a point even like last year when things were starting to get a little busy where I really thought like, I'm just too busy to answer this comment. I'm sorry. Yeah. I can't be bothered with, and that's gross now to me. But something happened in this past month, and it really was, or the ChopCon was the catalyst to really thinking about this. And I just started realizing, what am I doing? Oh, big deal. I have this many followers, or my traffic's here. Big deal. I don't care. I'm losing something, and I'm losing the reason why I first started this site. And I need to get back to that. And so for me in this past month, I have just been focusing completely on making those connections again, answering every comment I possibly can, and making that my priority, because it's why I started the site to begin with. And it's the reason why I believe that I've had part of the success that I have. So why am I walking away from that?
Yes.
And so for me, the answer to your question would be the engagement with the likes and the comments. It would be the interaction between the people who love what you do and want to share that with you versus the amount of likes.
Yeah, that's so powerful, I think.
But the sad thing is that now as brands are understanding that you can, they'll pay you a little more for their, review or recipe creation. They want to see stats too.
Yes.
So it plays with your mind, right?
Yes.
Because it's like, I want to be authentic, but then I also want to get good reach.
Yes.
So brands can still hire me. But I think, and you tell me if you agree with this, I think at the end of the day, though, you're going to find those brands who really love and understand what you're doing and want to jump on board. And those are the people you want to foster and really put all your attention with. The other ones, screw them. Who cares?
Yes.
And yes, sorry, go ahead.
I think that's so true. In fact, actually, that's one of the things I had written down about authenticity is it helps you know what to say yes and what to say no to.
Oh my gosh, Marley, we both write notes and I said the same thing.
Oh, wow.
You end up saying no more often than yes. Marley!
Yay! High five coming your way right now.
High five! Look at us. No, you're absolutely right. I agree.
Because, if it's, the project that you may be asked to work on may sound really great, but if it's not a good fit, then if you're really following your gut and your instincts, you're going to know that that's not the right thing for you to do.
Exactly. And if it doesn't even fit into your why or your audience, then they're not even worth it. I had one company, they hired me to do recipe creation, and I tried out one of their products and I spit it out faster than I put it in my mouth. It was the grossest thing ever. Yeah. And like, well, would you like to try another one of my products? I'm like, no, I don't, because people trust what I tell them. And if I'm going to tell them to buy your brand, but one of the products tastes like barf, then I tarnish my reputation because that's really important to me.
Yeah.
My part of my why I exist is to be a resource. So if I'm shooting myself in the foot by recommending a disgusting brand, then I've just lost my audience.
And see, that's the difference between a people pleaser versus somebody living in authenticity, is that it's easier for you to say, to give that kind of feedback is not easy for someone who's a people pleaser.
Yes, exactly.
Because I actually have been there. I got a brand, or luckily it was a brand representative that reached out to me, and so when she asked me, what I thought, it was easier for me to say, I'm, sorry, but I didn't really like that very much.
Yeah. You end up saying no more often than yes, right?
That's right. But it doesn't mean other people aren't going to like it. It doesn't mean it's a bad product. It just means that I feel like my readers are coming to me for my tastes.
Yes. Yeah.
There may be other people who don't like doing a meringue the same way I do, and therefore, they'll go to other sites, and that's fine. But this is the way I do them, and people come to me for that.
Are you mentioning meringue because it's Pie Week on Namely Marley next week, and we've been making lemon meringue?
I am surrounded in meringue right now.
Yeah, and you're not sharing because I can't wait for Pie Week.
Pie Week is going to be good.
So did you use, I'm sorry, this is totally off topic. Did you use aquafaba for the meringue? God bless that ingredient.
It is really amazing. I don't know if people know about this, but you can actually use the brine from a can of chickpeas and create a pretty amazing egg-free meringue.
It's unreal. I don't know who figured that out, but
I just want to take a bath in it. It's just it's so beautiful.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now everybody's Googling aquafaba.
It's true.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. I'm excited. Okay. I can't wait.
Thank you. But I also, within that statement is a confession that, I would like to be working out in my schedule further than I am. And I feel like that's something that kind of takes a transition for me. But I guess I've been kind of busy with the conference and all that stuff. So I'm working this week on what's going to be on the site next week.
But that's okay, right? Yeah. I mean, because that happens. And I think the important thing when setbacks occur, because there are going to be things that you try to make and they don't end up. And so they push you back a little bit further. Yeah. It is to be okay with those setbacks and,
And I think there's a process involved with all of this. It's a self-education process, I guess, where, I'm following kind of this moment of inspiration that came over me as part of being more mindful. And so I think this will be a reoccurring, I want to do this every year now. I love this idea of Pie Week. And so I
love it too.
Yeah. And I'll do it again next year and work a little bit further ahead on that. But
and you're trying new things, right?
Yes.
And you're being okay with trying new things.
Yes.
And part of the deviation from the norm is acknowledging what people want, but then also acknowledging what you're passionate about and why you started your site, right?
Right.
You see a lot of blogs who are doing these recipes because, well, I'm supposed to because everybody else is doing it.
Yes.
And because it's well searched.
Yeah.
And then what you have is just this overpowering confusion and cloud of chaos, and everyone's doing the same thing, and there's just a lot of noise.
Yes, like I have to do a banana bread on my site because everybody else has banana bread on their site.
Yes. And I have to be really careful with my words here because this is just my opinion too. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's looking at what hasn't been done and where can I offer my unique voice in this and doing that instead of what everybody else has done, because it gets really difficult to be heard in the midst of all of that. So you might as well just start being different and start doing what it is that you really want to do. And maybe what you really want to do is make that banana bread, and then so be it.
Right, exactly.
Right? But yeah.
But, I think the beauty in that is just like we were talking about when we were first learning to be creative and to be our ourself, or, maybe starting a blog, we might be copying other people.
Yes.
But when we start to be more authentic, then we're writing from our own perspective. And I feel like the same is true. Then here's the reverse of that. It makes your site harder to copy.
Yes.
Because they can maybe copy your recipes, but they can't copy your voice because you're being so authentic.
Yes. And not only that is when somebody does copy you, you know exactly what they're doing. Everybody knows that. Didn't Marley start that? Yeah, I think she did. She started Pie Week. That's funny that you're now doing Pie Week. So my web designer, he told me, he gave me some of the greatest advice. And he said, look, there's only one Beyonce. But when you go out into the music world, you start to notice that there are a lot of people who have ripped off of Beyonce and are trying to be like Beyonce. But at the end of the day, you know who Beyonce really is. And you know that they're all trying to be like her. So stop worrying about trying to track down those wannabes and just keep doing what you're doing.
I so agree. That's energy that could be spent on creating your own content versus hunting down people who are copying you.
And that has been an issue for me too, because on Instagram, I'm noticing there's a lot of people. Let's stop really quick and let me just say this. If you don't know this already, here it is. Do not take other people's photos and post it on your account without giving proper credit, number one, and asking permission.
Yes.
That is just the first rule of the game. Right. And anybody who says, big brand names who say, "Why I didn't know that you were supposed to do that." That is just bull. You can't do that. You can't do that in any other profession. Why do you think it's okay to do in this?
Yes.
But I've been noticing this a lot on Instagram, where either people copy my stuff and then they claim it as their own, or they've taken my photos and tag me in the photo itself, but not in the, description. And who's going to know, who's going to double tap and say, "Oh, that must be Fork and Beans." Okay. They're going to think it's theirs. Or just taking the whole recipe and putting it in there. Right.
Oh, that's crazy.
And it's gotten on my nerves a lot. And part of the reason is because it's just right in my face.
Yes.
I see it every day, and it just gets tiring to send emails. But then I realized through another blogger friend where she was just like, I'd rather just stay in my happy place than go hunt down those people constantly and telling them, the correct way to copyright.
Right.
And I totally get that too, because it gets me really angry when I see that.
Yes.
It makes me really angry, and I don't need more anger in this body. I just need more light and happiness.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You don't have a lot of control over what you put out there once you put it out there.
That's the sad thing. It really is. But the trick is with everything that we're talking about too, the idea of being authentic, the trick really is about changing your thoughts. And when somebody does that, instead of me going, that mother effer, blah, 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 you know, it's more, I'm sending that person to the light. And I wish you success and goodness. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to leave it there. You know, I'm going to do whatever I can to rectify the situation, because sometimes you really do need to intervene and say, this is not okay.
Right.
But I'm going to let it go once I get it all out, and I'm going to move forward. Because if I stay in that angry place, if I stay in that jealousy, if I stay in that hatred, my success is going to be completely defeated.
Yes.
I can't get anywhere if I have something blocking me. And so with being authentic as a food blogger, as crazy as it might sound, it all starts in your head. It's all about changing your thoughts. It's all about taking those negative, hurtful things that you believe about yourself and replacing them with positive things, and visualizing, seeing you being successful in whatever that might be for you.
Yeah, you know, what's so true about that is it's so easy to think about, you know, you can hear yourself saying, this is so hard, or it's so difficult to do this. I mean, those are kind of examples of change that language. I mean, it really does make a difference.
I love that example. You're right. Absolutely. And the other day, I can't even remember what it was I was doing, but it was probably something simple like trying to find a certain statistic on my Google Analytics. And, you know, technology is just, it's really hard for me. And I was saying, you know, I can't do this. And then I stopped myself. I'm like, no, I can do this. It's just going to take me a little more time.
Yeah.
And there's something so simple about it, but it changes everything. And you were talking too about, before we even started talking about on this podcast, about how you have been changing your thoughts lately, and it's made just such a difference in your life.
Yeah. Well, you met Jay. He's my life coach at the conference last month because he spoke, but he has really been encouraging me to do this pre-paving is what he calls it. And I can give you an example because I was traveling. I went to Atlanta last month and for a conference, and I had this big heavy bag with me going back to Kansas City. I was so worried as I was going through the airport, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get up there and my bag is going to weigh too much. And I was just stressed out. I was actually sweating. I was stressed out so much.
Oh my God, I love you, Marley.
And then I thought about what Jay tells me to pre-pave. And so I thought, okay, I took a deep breath and I just imagined everything going fine. And it doesn't mean that I have any control over how much that bag weighs, but I do have control over how I'm going to react to it. And you know what? I got to the front and my bag did weigh a little too much, but it was just a little bit too much. And I was able to grab a couple things, transfer it to the other bag, and everything was fine. It was wonderful.
It all worked out as is.
So I pre-paved my reaction to everything, and it made it such a more enjoyable experience walking through the airport.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. You and I are very similar because we tend to worry about certain things and stress over. And I think that in one of our previous phone conversations, I talked about the Enneagram, that personality assessment.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like there's something really. It's called the Enneagram, ENNEAGRAM, and everybody fits through 1 through 9. And I talk about this a lot because I just believe in it so deeply.
I'm going to have to take that.
Well, I have a contact person too. Her name is Jan, and she has a successful business. It's amazing, where she is like a job coach, but she also does assessments, and it's called Clarity Coaching. Just a little shout out to all of y'all. But everybody fits, in between a number, and I have found so much healing through the Enneagram, understanding who I really am. and not being angry at myself anymore for having certain reactions. I'm like you. I worry a lot, and that's part of my number. I'm a 6, and we're worriers. We're extremely loyal people, and we're like the best kind of friend you can have because we will stick it until the end.
Yeah.
But we worry so much about everything around us, and so it's easy to get frustrated at myself for being like that. But through the Enneagram, I've realized this is just part of who I am, and there are things I can do to, ease those worries.
Yes.
But what's beautiful about it is it doesn't just tell you, well, you suck, so good luck. It tells you kind of what your life mission is.
Oh, that's cool.
And it all ties in with what we're talking about, because for 6, their life mission is to figure out that they know everything they need to know about themselves and the world, and it's going to be okay. And not only that, but to trust that inner voice. And so for me, in food blogging, it has been like the greatest exercise in figuring out what my true voice is and trusting that it's the right one. And
now, see, that's scary, isn't it? I think that sounds scary.
It's very scary because we have learned so long that we don't know anything about what we're talking about. Yes. So we're always looking to an authority figure to tell us. We're looking to religion to tell us, because it eases our securities and our anxiety when somebody else tells us, here are the guidelines to live.
Right.
And now, okay, I can relax. Okay, I'm good. So now when you take all of that away and say, I get to make up my own rules, it's freaky because you're constantly going to somebody else. Are you sure this is okay? I can do this? Is that all right? And they're like, of course you can do that. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
But in the blogging world, because it's so much of the Wild West, there are no rules. And I think that's what's maddening.
So it makes sense that a lot of us end up trying to make rules around it. Yes. I have to pin 20 times a day. I have to do this. I have to post to Instagram so many times a day. It creates a false sense of security that I'm doing all the right things.
It is, especially when you're doing those things and nothing's working. Yeah. And it's just like, well, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And that's where you realize, because we talked about this earlier of long pins.
Yes.
Don't get me started on long pins.
Oh no, I'm going to get you started.
They anger me so much because one person had success or 2 or 3 people had success on long pins. Now everybody's got to do a long pin. Yeah. Now look, if you're listening and you do long pins, I'm not saying anything bad about you. And I get it, because we want to do what works and what will get us more traffic and build our following. There are things that I do that are probably the same way, but it's an example, just like you're supposed to post multiple times a day on Instagram if you want a big following. No, that's what somebody did, and they had great success with it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to have the same amount of success with that.
Yes.
Well, sorry.
I'm in that boat. I have been trying the long pins. I started out with Pinterest really early on. And so as a result, I have over 100,000 followers on Pinterest. And for a while I could pin things and I would get thousands of repins, and it felt so fulfilling. Now it's like, I get maybe 40 or 50 repins and I'm really happy. I still will occasionally get a pin that gets several hundred repins, but I really find Pinterest unfulfilling because of exactly what you're saying. It's like, it just feels like everything looks the same on Pinterest right now, and I really don't like that.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody is trying to copy about 2 people on there because they think that that's going to work, and God bless, because you're trying, but at the end of the day, it's not going to. If it's not working, then change something.
Right.
Try new things. Be vulnerable. Be okay with experimentation and be okay with failing.
Right.
It's okay. It's going to be okay, because guess what? Nobody's going to really remember.
Yes, exactly. And I kind of feel like social media in general, I mentioned to you this earlier, back in the day when I was single, I was given advice by this man who was a physician, but he was just a friend. We were chit-chatting, and his point was this: you don't catch fish by jumping in the water. You catch fish by, being around the water and knowing the water, but you don't have to jump in. And I sometimes, at least for me, I swear I'm not judging other people based on the things that they do. But for me, I feel like I have been jumping in the water on social media lately, and I've just kind of pulled back this last month just to try to, reassess what do I want to do with social media. I obviously, I use CoSchedule. It sends my stuff out there, and I want my stuff to be out there, but this whole strategy of pinning and repinning and pinning 25 times a day, and that increases my followers. I don't know. There's times I find that just to be numbing.
Yeah, and absolutely. It's honestly, it's why I don't do schedulers myself.
Yeah.
Because I want, maybe it's a little bit of a control freak too, but I don't want necessarily my stuff to go out there just because I need it to go out there. You know what I mean? Because I need to go the X amount of times a day. I want to be present in every aspect I do. It's why I won't do Snapchat. It's why I won't do Periscope. Is I have too many irons in the fire as it is. And if I can focus on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram, that keeps me pretty busy as it is. But it keeps me present. It's kind of like what you're talking about with, being present in the moment with your ingredients.
Yes.
It keeps me present in the moment with social media because that's where the interaction and connection's happening. It's less and less on the site nowadays.
Right.
So I want to really focus on the people who are coming and commenting and let them know that I really appreciate you taking the time out of doing that. And I personally can't get that through scheduling. I have to do it myself.
I see what you're saying. Whereas if you schedule something to go on Facebook, you can possibly miss the interaction that goes along with that.
Yeah, it for me, it just takes the joy out of it.
Yeah,
because I'm probably one of the very few who still really enjoy Facebook. I do. I like it a lot. I don't know why. It just always has been.
What I love about it, Facebook, is when I post something, I get interaction from people, and I like that.
Yes. Yeah, and it's a totally different audience, I find, than in Instagram. So, and I like it. And I'm a firm believer in approaching your social media in its own components. So Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, they're all different beasts and they all have different personalities. And so it's like going to a friend and being with one friend and then going to another friend. There's no one size fits all for me. I don't think that there is, but
yes, exactly. I was thinking we could wrap this discussion up by maybe each of us telling a story sometime over the last year or whatever that it was in our life about, something that helped us learn about authenticity. And the example I could give, which you know so well about, is that I cut my hair.
Yes.
And I had longer hair. It wasn't like long hair, but I feel like it was a brave move. I was really nervous about it. But I went in and I got my hair cut, and it was weird. Like the heavens opened up and the choir started singing.
So crazy. I mean, it's just so crazy that a haircut could do that.
I know. But I had read that book, The Art of Tidying Up, and I loved that book. And except that I was never really able to get rid of very much. The whole point was to get rid of all this clutter and everything. But when I got my hair cut, it was like, oh, that sweater that I've had for 3 years and have moved 2 times. I get it. I am never going to wear that. It's gone. I actually took 5 bags of stuff up to Goodwill after I got my hair cut. I know. It felt really great. My closet looks amazing.
There's something so satisfying about that. Maybe it goes along with like the notes writing and whatnot, but tidy place. Ooh, I love it.
Oh, no, I have plenty more to tidy up still. I mean, like my office is next on my priority list.
Yeah,
but
no, first things first. Yeah.
Yes, I started with my closet. I think because it was so related, my hair and what I wear kind of felt really connected. But it has helped me connect with other things. Like another thing I did when I had the house to myself on Monday night was I cleaned my kitchen, like to the point where I like it to be clean. I don't often keep it that way, but
yeah,
Now,
really just talking about your hair and clothes. Have you ever heard of a woman, Carol Tuttle?
I don't know why her name sounds familiar.
Go on to caroltuttle.com after this.
Okay.
And she has an entire business based off of this. And it's really fascinating. And it's talking about like dressing for your authentic self, really.
Oh, wow. I love that.
I think it's like there's like 4 different categories, of what you can fit in, and each number dresses should look a certain way based off of their personality. It's really interesting. I think you'd really like that because you're kind of in that metamorphosis of living out authenticity, and she's just all about it. So go check that out.
Oh, I can't wait. So I really feel like I probably have been a short hair person my whole life and I didn't even know it. I was trying, it's a great example of how I was trying to fit into everybody else's mold, and I just wasn't happy with it. And, I was always worried it back in a ponytail. And I think what really was the impetus for getting it cut was I read somewhere that, a ponytail, having that stress on your hair follicles is kind of bad for your hair. And I think, what it was they were talking about man buns, and they're having more men go in and they're having problems with losing hair in certain areas of their head because of they're always having their hair back.
Interesting. Well,
so I thought, you know what? I'm going to try something different. And I did, and I love it. So
you are inspiring me to go back to my curly hair because
you have curly hair?
Oh, my hair is so curly. Are you kidding me? Yes. In fact, when I was in 8th grade, I took a test on like a 17 magazine quiz, you know? And it was like, what hair type do you guys like the most? And you better believe like curly got dead last. And everyone's like, oh, curly hair, you look like a poodle. And I remember just like cowering in that, thinking, oh man, I'm never going to find anybody because I have curly hair and no one's going to like me. And
that's a thought that's like one of those things that gets deeply seated, and it's pervasive. It's
so bad. And so part of this journey in this last week or last year has kind of been like playing around with getting my curls back every once in a while. So I'm still like nervous about it, but you're definitely inspiring me. So
I want you to, I have a challenge for you. I want you to wear your hair curly and take a picture and just send it to me because I want to see it.
Okay.
Well, I love curly hair myself.
I do too. And my excuse always is that it's getting strangely mismatched. Like the front is a little more straight. I think that's my excuse, though, because there are different hairstylists who really that's their expertise is curly hair. So it's just my excuse. But okay, all right, I'll do it.
I just want to see it. I bet it's adorable. I can't wait to see it.
I'm nervous. Okay.
It's just me. I won't share it with anybody. I promise.
No, watch it goes on Chop Podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
And okay.
What happens on the Chopped podcast stays on the Chopped podcast.
Yeah, there you go. I love that, though, that just a mere haircut could do so much to your interior life. It's pretty incredible. It doesn't have to be anything big either. I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it is the beauty of it. But I do think it takes a spirit of experimentation. So I was pretty nervous, especially if I have this philosophy or whatever persona based on longer hair. And I didn't even actually realize that. And then after I got my hair cut, I saw there were images of these sexy women and they all had long hair. So it's like, I think in some ways society has determined that the only way you're feminine is through long hair. But I think women are beautiful no matter what. And having, if you're just being true to yourself, then I think that's even more beautiful.
I love that. You're right. You're absolutely right. And that's like a whole other podcast topic too.
For another day.
Seriously.
Do you have anything else you want to add on the topic about authenticity?
I'm trying to think of like one thing that happened for me, and it was more just of an evolution of that. And I really think it had a lot to do with the more I keep nailing down my why, then it really helps me understand why I do what I do. And, you know, this year there have been a lot more opportunities, and I've noticed that, you know, any time that I decide to go or not, I have to match it up to my why. And I've been saying no to a lot of things more than anything. And that's actually been really freeing for me.
Wow.
Because I've been realizing that it's not about, I know this is, you know, cheesy, maybe not, but it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. And so that's helped me a lot. I don't need to bust my butt to be successful. I just have to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. That, and honestly, just changing my thoughts. Once I started working on that, it has changed my life.
Wow. That's amazing. Change your thoughts to change your life. I think there's so much truth to that. Yes.
That's going to be the name of this podcast.
I love it. Okay, that's exactly what it's going to be, everybody.
Go change your thoughts.
This has been such a wonderful discussion, and I really feel like it's going to be something that has a lot of impact for people. Even if they agree or don't agree with the things that they've said, or we've said here, it can definitely like just open doors to thinking and, you know, I don't know, when you think more about stuff, I think then you can kind of create your own path that way.
I agree.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
I just love you so much, Marley.
I love you too.
And, you know, it's funny, really quick. We, you know, just have met once, and that was last month.
Yeah.
And I always felt like I knew you, though. And that speaks volumes about your authentic self and just what a beautiful spirit you really have. So I just want to let you know that at the end.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I always feel like when I'm meeting and connecting with incredible people like you, I must be doing something right in my life.
Well, you're attracting people who are like you, and you're amazing. Okay, this is the Marley and Cara admiration. Okay, we'll stop.
Okay, yes. Everybody, thank you so much, and be authentic, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Cara.
Bye, thank you.
Thanks to Cara Ansis for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. If you were busy running around and couldn't jot down something important, don't worry, we took the notes for you. Just head on over to choppedcon.com, where I put up links for each show, including the stuff we talked about today, and more information about our guests. I hope you're loving the Chopped Podcast. If so, it would mean the world to me if you'd head over to iTunes or Stitcher and give it a review. You can do that right now. Also, you can spread the word about the Chopped Podcast using @ChoppedCon on Twitter or Instagram, or even Facebook. Your shout-outs really mean a lot. You inspire me, so I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.